how you fake Resident Evil fans that came from Fortnite to this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2 are satisfied with this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. It just doesn't make sense to me. It really doesn't. Folks, they're taking everything that us real Resident Evil fans appreciated in Resident Evil 3 in 1999. They're taking the DNA of that game and they're ripping it right out. And it's incredibly sad. So they're rewriting the story. They've taken Mercenaries mode out. The choice action mechanic is not returning. No new endings. So there's, the replayability of this game comes into question. These are all huge red flags, and yet you want to sit there and pretend like I'm wrong, like I'm the bad guy here, just because I know deep down that the lazy millennial devs over at Clueless Capcom have absolutely no idea, no understanding of what makes Resident Evil tick to begin with. This is nothing but a soulless cash grab. They rushed this product out, which explains why there's not going to be any replayability. They tacked on this half-assed multiplayer mode that literally no one was asking for. Resident Evil multiplayer? Ugh. Unless it's done really well, and believe me, it hasn't been done really well in a long, long time, there's no reason to even go down that road. But they knew, the lazy millennial devs over at Clueless Capcom, they knew they didn't have enough meat on that bone. So they quickly scrammed this, multiplayer component together to pack into this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. So that it makes it seem like, oh yeah, this is an incredible deal. I'm essentially getting 2 games in one. But when you remove everything that we appreciated so incredibly well, in Resident Evil 3 1999 to begin with, you have to start questioning and saying, okay, what is actually happening here? They're not remaking this game. This isn't a remake that's not even close to being faithful to the source material. Instead, what they're doing is they're going in and making an all-new Resident Evil game that's under the guise, that's loosely, and I mean loosely inspired by Resident Evil 3. Just like this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2 was. This all-new edition of Resident Evil 2 wasn't a remake. So now I'm in the position, as a real Resident Evil fan, as someone who's been there since day one, as someone who didn't come from Fortnite to this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2, I'm still waiting for Capcom to remake these games, at least in a way that makes sense. But do you think that's going to happen anytime soon? Absolutely not. Maybe in the next decade or so, they will revisit these games, because I'll tell you this right here, right now, no one is going to remember, in the next decade or so, no one is going to remember this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2. No one is going to remember this all-new upcoming edition of Resident Evil 3. You know why? Because they're disposable, half-assed, and soulless. And just because you fake Resident Evil fans that came from Fortnite to this all-new edition of Resident Evil 2 disagree, it doesn't mean that world-class veteran video game critic Michael Does Life is wrong. I understand what makes Resident Evil tick. And it's very clear that the franchise that you fake Resident Evil fans have infested is in the shitter. But you don't care. You never have and you never will. Because you're too busy going, ah.